breaks your noose like an old man. He's got you thinking about your death and you are frightened.
Hi to everyone. Today we are with Josh Gibbs from Malevolent Creation. I have always trouble in pronunciation. I'm Ada from Poison Rock, and welcome to all of you. I wanted to go straight to the first question, Josh. And of course, Malevolent Creation is a huge band, and everyone knows them. But there are always newbie fans, so just speak a little bit briefly about the band and introducing the current lineup, because I saw there is some changing of lineup.
Correct. There's been quite a few members in Malevolent over the years. But well, the first time I ever saw them was back in it was like '94 maybe, or even earlier. It was with this band Excel and Malevolent Creation at a place called The Pit in West Palm Beach. It's actually my first show ever, which is funny that 30 years or whatever later I'm playing in the band, but it's kind of cool. So that was my first, inception with the band, and I was blown away. My buddy Eric, he played drums. We had a band, back then, a little hardcore band, and he had their CD, so it was the Ten Commandments, and of course,
yeah, sure,
yeah, I checked that out and loved it and was a fan ever since. But through the years of playing music, I've got to meet some of my heroes, and I got to be in some bands that I've liked, and one of them you mentioned earlier was Solstice.
Yeah, sure.
Through that, I got to meet Phil, and that's how pretty much that was the start. Well, after I left Solstice, we were at a Amon show at Churchill's, and we're all just hanging out, talking shit, and Phil's like, you want to jam sometime? And I thought maybe he was talking about, Hate Plow or something else, some little side project. I didn't think he was talking about Malevolent. I was like, sure, man. So I gave him my phone number, and it was maybe a week later, he called me, and he's like, I was at a seafood festival or something, and he called me and asked me if I wanted to join. And of course, I was like, yeah,
sure.
No, I want. Yeah, right. So that was the start of it, and at that time, he had already had this guy Lee, who was in South Africa, and he was trying to put the band back together because Brett wanted him to continue the band, so that's what he was doing. And he had Cancilla because Brett knew Cancilla through Hank III because he played with them, so he had met them, and that's kind of how everybody got together. So that was the start of it. And it was pretty interesting because I'm used to being in a band where we can jam, we get together, we start playing. It was just me and Phil. We get together, we write riffs, and we'd send it to Lee in South Africa, and then we'd have to get that to Cancilla in Las Vegas, and it was a weird way to write an album, but
but also I think that this show a huge connection between the members of the band.
Yeah, at the time, yeah. And, we got together finally. The label gave us the money to do the album, and we purchased their flights and visas and all the crazy stuff that we had to go through to get Lee into our country. And we recorded that album. And then everybody went home. And there was some crazy, I'm not going to lie to you, there was some crazy stuff that went down. I came in the band, I just wanted to be a bass player. I didn't want to, record the album. I didn't want to have to do any of that stuff, even though I am an audio engineer and I have a studio and I do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be, hey man, I'm the bass player. But
just being the bass in the corner, like.
Well, I just wanted to kind of just be in the band, and enjoy that for a minute. Yeah. But I didn't get that opportunity because the drummer was such a hothead that he started conflicts with the engineer. They got in a fight. Right as the drums were done, but there was a gun drawn. There was crazy stuff happened. So the engineer had to be fired. Yeah, the engineer had to be fired. And I was the only one that could take the reins. So I ended up having to record the rest of the album because of this.
Yeah.
So, we made it happen. I went through a lot of editing with drums because Cancilla was, he wasn't. He's not in the band now for a reason. Let's just say that he was a hothead. He gave us nothing but problems on the road. So we had to part ways with him after the first tour that we did with him, actually. So we did that. We went on tour to, after the album was done, everybody went home. It took a little while for us, I think another year for us to actually go on tour. So
worse than now with the COVID.
Yeah, well, we finally got it together after the album was out, and we went to Latin America. Actually, first we went to Malta, then we went to Rome.
Malta, here, near here in Sicily.
Yeah, we played in Malta, and then we played in Rome, and then we came home. Oops, sorry about that.
Don't worry.
And then, then we came home. Then we went to South America, and we toured. We did 13 shows there, and that's pretty much when we realized, we couldn't handle Cancel anymore. So Phil advised me to try to find another drummer, and we wanted to keep these people in Florida because we've already been thinking about, all the problems that we're having with people being so far away. So the first person that came to mind was Ronnie Palmer, and when we talked to him, he of course, said, let me learn the songs. So this guy really learned our half the set in like 2 weeks. And then we played a show at Churchill's, and that was Cancella's last show. We then went to Europe to tour with Batushka. And that's when we got halfway through that. That's when the COVID.
Yes, unfortunately, it's happened. Yeah.
And we had to come. so
and then
ever since.
Yeah, that's great. Like it's like a really tough story, but I mean, I hope that is that definitely line up until right now.
Yeah, no, when Ronnie got in the band, it was meant to be. It felt like, me and Phil and him clicked, and we were having a great time the whole time. From the beginning, I had asked Phil to get Ryan in the band, and he's like, "No, we got this Lee guy." I gave him, I told him my word.
You knew you had this idea before. Yeah,
I did. And because Ryan's my friend, I play with him Solstice. I know what kind of musician he is. I know what kind of front he is.
Yes, I read in that he was in Solstice as well. Yeah, I read it.
And he's really good, man. He's a professional musician. And
this is what matters in the music.
Exactly. And he lives in Florida. He lives down the street from me, so it's even better. We don't have someone in another country, which is I don't mind.
No, of course.
But it's really hard to be in a band with.
Yes. Especially in this period, being closer, it's better because if you have to work on an album or planning everything and being into different continent is impossible almost to work. But moving a little bit forward, in your opinion, of course, this maybe more historical question, but I think you can answer that. Moving to New York to Florida. In your opinion, changed the sound of the band?
I don't think so. I mean, the music comes from inside, so...
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, we're all pissed off. So, no matter where... Florida's not, any better than New York. I mean, I get guns pulled on me, and I have to carry a knife with me all the time. I pull it out quite a few times, actually, this week, so it's not an easy place to live anywhere. So
yeah, sure.
If you're trying to get away from something,
I don't know, the Floridian music scene could have be some influences on the sound of the band.
Well, see, that's okay. When that was going down, I was very young. I'm 44 years old, so I was still a teenager, and Phil's 10 years older than me. So
yeah.
I wasn't really hanging out with these people at that time. I was, still learning my instrument and playing in bands that were just starting to get shows, and you know, these guys were on a different level than I was at that point in my life, and it was only because of my age, you know, and I can say that it had an influence on me. I love hardcore, I love thrash, I love death metal, all that stuff, and you know, as for them, they were the ones creating it, so you'd have to ask Phil, you know, or the members of the band that.
I mean, and in your opinion, the first release, the Ten Commandments, how much had this in impact on the death metal scene?
Oh, I mean, it had a huge impact. All the bands that came out of Florida had a huge impact on the death metal scene, as far as I'm concerned. You know.
Yeah, but speaking about the Ten Commandments, this album particularly, in your opinion, and particular impact on that metal scene in general?
I mean, for me, like I said, it was
for you.
It blew me away. So I can't speak for other people, you know. For me, it was a huge influence. So.
Yeah, so and I mean, if you have, for example, of course, always speaking in your opinion, because now we're seeing like more you as a fan than you're joining. Moving forward, like a fast journey to the second album till the not the last one, but the last one before. Mm-hmm. What is changed in composing and songwriting? The band changing something, or they always kept their sound?
I mean, it's changed from album to album, in my opinion. From Ten Commandments, it's thrashy and death metal, and then you get to Retribution, and it's more technical, a lot more crazy. Yeah. Then you get to Eternal, and it kind of backs down a little bit, you know. And even Stillborn before that was. I know a lot about the recording of that album and why that album is the way it is. Yeah. It's a great album, but they had some issues at that time, and that's, you know, some things went down behind the scenes on that one. And, you know, so on and so forth. My personal favorite album, like you're going to ask, if you want to ask, is Envenomed. Like,
I will ask something like that in the following questions. I will ask something like that.
But for me, I love that album. That's a great album.
I was saying that you joined the band in 2017, so before the 13th Beast was released. What can you tell about this album that is also the last one until now?
Like, about the creation of it?
Yeah, I mean, in general, the creation, the topic, the songwriting...
Well, Phil came up with the idea of the 13th Beast. There was going to be 13 songs on it, but one of his songs was 7.5 minutes long or something. So we would have to have like a double LP. So they're like, we're going to cut some songs. So 2 songs actually got cut that we still have, you know.
It's the 11th Beast.
Never be released because of who's on it. But, I mean, we still have them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's some things like that, but I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed all the work that I put into that album. It was my introduction into the band.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to really prove that I was worthy of being in this band, and you know, I think everybody that was involved did the best they could, and I think we did a great album.
I mean, everyone in the world knows this is Malevolent Creation. I mean, like they're like a pillar in the death metal community, so that thrash metal community, whatever. Because I can't settle in some genre specifically.
Well, they're big shoes to step into, and to prove that you are worthy. And you know, that's what I hope I've done and will continue to do for this.
So. I was saying before that there was a question similar like to your favorite album, but this is more, if in your opinion, which album incarnates better the sound of the Malevolent Creation?
Ooh, like the best production?
The sound. I mean, if I'm a newbie fan and I don't know the band completely, and I want to know who Malevolent Creation are. Which
like the best album that represents the band?
Yeah, as the sound, yeah. You listen to the band and say, that's art.
It would be hard I would say, because there's been so many members over the years that it has changed in more, but always kept its its integrity. Been like amazing, phenomenal musicians that Phil has gotten to play with him over the years, and they have all, in my book, created great albums, and they all have their own little, I don't know their own identities, So when you listen to them, if you know what musicians are in the band at the time, you can understand why it sounds the way it does. Pretty much. Most people would tell you, oh, Retribution, oh, Ten Commandments. But if you look at the span of the band, there's been a lot of people that have graced it.
And of course, this is a generical question that is speaking about the influences of Malevolent Creation, because everyone has influences at his back. So, which are the inspiration or influences of Malevolent Creation?
I mean, for myself, or are you talking about for the band?
Yourself comes later. First the band, then yourself personally as bass player and musician.
I mean, my influences as a bass player. Is that what you're asking? Like, I'm a little confused with the question. I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
First, at the band, the influences.
I mean, our influence are strictly this. Like, Phil wants it to be brutal. He wants it to sound equal. He wants it to be, the best it can be. I don't look at it like what band influences me, because I'm beyond that spectrum. I love music. I love all kinds of bands, but when I'm writing music, I don't even listen to music, because I don't want to be influenced by outside creation. And to do something that, because I'm going to put this on an album and it's going to be there forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to bite off of someone else on accident. I would never do it on purpose. So when it comes to creation of music, I try to block the world out and create.
You don't listen to music anymore and
I create.
That's the best way when the masterpiece came out, because you do something that is yours and new. And as a bass player, you have some icons, someone that inspires you. Because I'm a bass player as well, so it could be helpful to me as well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of influence in different styles for me too. I mean, there's Jaco Pastorius, there's all kinds of there's a lot of great bass players out there, and to be honest with you, I mean, I love all different styles of music. I'm not just a metalhead or this or that.
Yes.
So when it comes to me playing as a bass player, the same thing. I try to do my own thing somehow, and I do have my influences, but I don't try to let those take over.
Yes.
I try to be myself and let myself come through.
No, this is the best thing. This is a question that I didn't have planned, but since I'm a bass player as well, and I've been playing in several bands, and as you probably know, all the time the bass player are not bass players, not the main. What could you tell to all the bass player in the world? They feel maybe just in the corner.
Well, let me tell you this. It isn't like that at all. It's actually the opposite. And I'm a guitar player who started, I started at 12 years old playing guitar, and I didn't pick up the bass really until, I did because I wanted to learn instruments, but I didn't play it professionally until I was in Solstice. I was a guitar player up until that point. Alex is my friend, and he wanted me in the band. They had, Ryan, and they had Dennis, and they needed a bass player. So he's like, I don't want to, I don't know how he put it. He's like, I don't want to, put you down. He's like, but would you play bass for us? You know what I mean? And I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I'll do that. And it was fucking hard, dude. Every night, I was cramping up to play that kind of music and that speed. And I'm used to playing guitar. It's more finesse, and playing bass like that and playing it correctly and the way it's supposed to be done. It's like, you're playing ripping a chainsaw, So for the first probably year, every night after I was done playing, I was just, my hands were hurting,
I know something.
It was brutal, and then it became easier, and now now to me, I feel that I am a bass player, which is
Yeah.
the thing about life is you have to adapt. You think you're going to do this, and then if you go down that path, maybe you won't make it. Well, if you get an
Sure.
opportunity, you should always take those into
Take.
consideration.
Yes.
And
This is
playing
true.
bass got me where I'm at right now, talking to you. So.
Yes, sure. Speaking about a little bit about tour, there is some memories about touring with it could be also with Malevolent Creation, but also with other bands that you had because both that you remember most. Like it could be a funny moment, like a particular moment, something that happened and you remember until today.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just the
Remember
first one comes into your mind.
when I was in Solstice, we toured in vans. So I don't know, with two bands in a van that's so tight and crazy. We had just gotten into New York, and we had been like, it felt like I was like in the middle of nowhere forever. And then all of a sudden, there's these big buildings and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I just lost it, man, and just started barking at people and just going crazy, and everybody was laughing. It was nuts, man. As soon as we got there, we all just erupted in this place.
Yeah.
It was just such a crazy, like, someone would be on the bike, I'm just, rah, rah, rah. They look at you like, what the hell?
What's going on? What's going on
Yeah,
here?
what is this? And we had lost it at that point, So there's plenty of times on the road where, okay, here's another one. This is an instance with Malevolent. I had just woken up. I went downstairs to piss on the bus, and as I
Yeah.
was coming back up the stairs, Lee was underneath me on the bunk below me.
Yeah.
His complete ass only now was hanging out of the bunk, and I'm like, as I come up, I don't see anything. As I come around the corner, bam, right in my face. I'm like, oh man. I had to like wake him up, tell him to get in his bunk. Like, what are you doing with just your bare ass hanging out of the bunk like that? The blinds closed and everything. It was like I don't know. It was like he was like a joke or something. Like he's trying to play a prank on me, but it wasn't too funny. Let's just say that.
That are funny, always funny moments. And speaking about tour, so this makes some. It's like more like you are a tour operator, say like putting like this, and you have the chance to choose a country where you want to go and some band that you want to bring with you. Apart, of course, the Malevolent. So
Oh, you're saying like a tour and where and what
yeah.
bands I would take with me?
Yeah, you are a tour operator, so you just can decide where to go,
Okay.
which band brings with you.
Huh. Well, I've never been to Australia. That'd be cool to go there.
Yeah,
I've never been to Japan either, or like any Asian area. So those would be cool places to check out. The bands. I like to. This is how it goes. Like when you go on tour, you meet new people and bands that you don't know, and then you become
even
lifelong
local
friends.
bands.
Like when I toured with Hobbs Angel of Death, Peter Hobbs, man, was an amazing guy, and God rest his soul. But I got to tour with that dude, and I became such a good close friend with him. I talk to him all the time, and
That's
so
great.
those are the kind of bonds you make on the road and lifelong kind of things. His guitar player Homa, is a very good friend of mine. We still speak. His mother is like my mother from another brother, like kind of thing. And I've never met her, but she loves me. I talk to her all the time. So music is about making connections. And
Yes, I know as well. Yeah.
bands I'd like to bring with me. Shit, dude. It'd be cool to tour with Obituary. I love that band. Sick of It All. I love the
I spoke with them with Joe Kohler some months ago. Yeah. He's
yeah.
amazing. He's an amazing guy. Yeah.
Um, just stuff like that, dude. Like
Yes.
that's
And now is a little bit specific and tough. For many bands, it's always tough, and they always put their hands on. Okay, so you have to pick up 5 albums, songs, or artists that influenced you from your childhood till now. So could be jazz, could be blues, could be pop, anything.
okay. Well, I can say, and I can say this in all honesty, the reason I picked up the guitar was Edward Van Halen, God rest his soul, and you know, seeing him playing on TV, and my mother, for my birthday, bought me a disc. It was a tape. What do you call it? They had tapes back then, a Walkman, right?
Walkman, yeah.
And Eddie Van Halen, you know, the Van Halen 1984 tape. So I had that as a kid. That was my first, you know, that was it. And from there, I knew I wanted to play music. Honestly, that was like my eureka moment. Like I was like, this is so awesome. I have to do this, you know. And so it wasn't right away that I picked up, you know, playing music. It was around 12, but I knew that it was gonna continue on, and it has for life. And I'm sorry I should, you know, went off on a tangent, but that would definitely be an album. I'd have to say, for me, of course, Malevolent Creation, 10 Commandments, Excel, Joke's on You.
Yeah.
Any Sick of It All album from back then. And Deicide, of course. They're a killer band.
Sure, perfect.
First album rips.
So now we are at the most common and last questions. The future plans and projects of Malevolent Creation.
Our future plans right now.
Apart COVID. Pretend that COVID is ended. Pretend for a moment.
So next year is the 30th anniversary of the 10 Commandments.
That's great.
So Phil has, you know, talked to me about it, and our plan is to tour extensively on that, playing the entire album in its entirety, and then with an encore of some other albums of songs that the band wants to play. You know, so they won't be things that you've probably seen live, hopefully, and you know, unless we, you know, there's songs that we all want to do. So that's the plan for next year, to pretty much tour on that album. And
touring just on US or just worldwide?
No, worldwide. We want to go all over. And right now we're in the process of.
If you come to Malta again, make a call.
Yeah, to. What is it? Beheaded. The band Beheaded. Those dudes brought us. They're from. So you know those dudes, David and them. They're great dudes, man. Had a wonderful time there.
Yes, we are planning something as well as Webzine and tour management. We are planning a tour as well, but we will try to be to Malta with a singer from United States, Leder Leone. She's a female singer, so we will be around, and maybe we can have gigs together.
That would be cool. I'm not opposed to that at all.
She's one of the women. I can say that she's seriously, she's the daughter of Ronnie James Dio, because he teaches her to sing. So basically, she has the best voice ever. I call her all the time, and she has integrity. No, I never saw a woman like that for having 62 years old. She's freaking amazing. Awesome. So I want to bring this woman to Europe and let everyone knows that heavy metal isn't that like most people think.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, so maybe we can just check out seeing some gigs. So right now we are at the end. Just a message to Malevolent Creation fan, Solstice fan, I have to say also, and our followers.
Just, you know, follow your heart, man. Do what you love and try not to hurt anyone in the process. And you know, there's not much else you can do. Learn as much as you can. You know, follow your passions in life, man. You know, fuck the rest of this bullshit.
That's right. So thank you, Josh, for being with us, and really thank you for the time and the honor of such a huge band like that. So hope to see you in next year then. Have a good evening in US. For me, have a good night.
Yeah, get some sleep.
For sure, I will do it. Bye, Josh. Thank you so much.
Into a world of pain, sinister outcome slices through, steel cuts through skin. Not of hope, not of new, become this hideous start. Watching yourself die, you and your lips now hard. They say you wait. Still one flesh, gutless for his blades. Marrow from your bones, pouring back in flame, ignoring screams and groans. All you are to him is livestock in the yard. But you have prepared all of your delicious birds. Entering now into his slaughterhouse. Instead my blood serving the butcher's ground. Entering now into his slaughterhouse. Instead my blood serving the butcher's ground. Lay out on the table, drag down, cannot move. The burning of your skin precise butchering is soon. He will not let you die. It burns ripe and fresh, one cut at a time. The taste of still warm flesh into a world of pain. Sinister outcome slices through the unaccustomed skin. Blood of old, blood of new, become insidious stars. Watching yourself die, you had your lips apart. The thing you wait is high. Entering now into his slaughterhouse. It sets my blood, earning the butcher's crown. Entering now into his slaughterhouse. It sets my blood, earning the butcher's crown.